is up, you YouTubers? This is Heartbeat189, and the voices in my head coming at you from the Duelist Den. And welcome to the September monthly special video. I know we still got a couple days left in August, but anyway, for today's video, we're going to be talking about what the meta is going to look like going into the future. Now, specifically, I'm going to be going over the top tier decks, tier 1, 2, and 3 decks that we could see going into the future meta. Now, for this video, we are, of course, going to have to make some assumptions. The first assumption is that the ban list drops here shortly, hopefully no longer than a week from now. And the reason we have to make that assumption for this video is because Konami has not released the next ban list. I was hoping they would have dropped it before I made this video, but they haven't yet. The second assumption is that on the ban list, Zodiac gets completely neutered. I'm talking balls chopped off with a pair of rusty scissors, run under a steamroller, and then dropped into a vat of hydrochloric acid. The third assumption we are going to make for this video is that True King, True Dracos get hit as well. Now, what I'm thinking about when I say they get hit is something similar to what happened with Monarchs. A couple cards get hit, and then because those cards got hit, the deck is less playable and sort of gets power crept out. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is just an honorable mention for this list, and that is Magic Bullets. The reason Magic Bullets are just an honorable mention is because we really don't know how they're going to impact the TCG. Now, on paper, Magic Bullets are a very, very good deck. The Magic Bullet monsters allow you to activate Magic Bullet spell and trap cards from your hand, and then if a Magic Bullet spell or trap card is activated in the same column as a monster, then that monster gains an additional effect. Depending on what it is. Some of them allow you to draw cards, some of them allow you to search cards. It really all depends on which Magic Bullet monster is in that column. Now, for the tier 3 decks, I'm going to go ahead and say True King, True Dracos could still be a very viable tier 3 deck if they get hit on the ban list. And the reason I say that is because even if Masterpiece goes to 1 and Diagram goes to 1, they will still have very, very good plays, just not good enough to top major events. Or to do a lot of topping at major events. So they could still be a very viable tier 3 deck. The next deck I want to talk about is Gokey. Now, Gokey, we don't have all of the Gokey support for the TCG. And now Gokey is a very decent deck, is a very decent rogue deck that you can play. They have the ability to easily access their link monsters, special summon multiple monsters in the same turn. It's just not very, very viable going against tier 1, some of the tier 1 decks that we are already seeing could be tier 1 at the moment. The last deck I want to talk about for tier 3 is, of course, Chainburn. Now, since the World Championship and Chainburn won the Dragon Duels of the World Championship, you see a lot more people playing this deck. Now, a lot of people did play this deck as a rogue deck before, but since Worlds, they've seen cards that they can use and combos they can use in the deck that they didn't originally think about. And even this past weekend at YCS Remy, we did see a lot of Chainburn players. I even at YCS, or not YCS, the Fayetteville Regionals this past weekend, seen a lot of people playing Chainburn. So this could be a very viable tier 3 deck going into the future as well. For the tier 2 decks, we're going to start off with Cyprus. Cyprus is a very, very powerful deck, but I think of Cyprus sort of like I do with Cyber Dragons. They can make very, very good plays. They have the ability to special summon. A lot of their monsters have built-in special summoning capabilities. They can easily go into their link monsters. They have the ability, or some of their monsters give the ability to attack multiple times in a turn. The problem is they are too easily outed. So I do feel this could be an easy tier or a low tier 2 deck. It depends on how you build it. The next tier 2 deck I want to talk about is, of course, Burning Abyss. Now, Burning Abyss could do nothing coming up in this next format, and the only reason they're on this list is because they are getting a Burning Abyss Link monster. That is confirmed. And now this Burning Abyss Link monster could completely flop or could be really, really good. And the Link monster for Burning Abyss is very, very important because you can't just tech in any Link monster into the deck, because the main deck Burning Abyss monsters destroy themselves if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster. So this Link monster is very, very important for the deck, and they could see some play as a tier 2 deck. Next is Paleozoic Frogs. Now, we do have a new generic water Link monster coming out that will make Paleozoic Frogs playable again because they haven't really been able to do much since the link mechanic came out. So having the ability to have a generic link monster for the deck that they can easily access and gives a boost to all their monsters is important for the deck. And the reason they are still at a tier 2 status right now, at least for this list, is because even during the heavy Zoo and heavy True Draco format, they could go toe-to-toe with Zodiacs. They even beat Zodiacs in a couple of events for tops. And it's just a very, very viable deck. They can stop your opponent's effects from going off. They can swarm the field with the Paleozoic and Frog engines. It's just a very, very good deck, even though I can't stand it. But anyway, the last tier 2 deck I want to talk about is, of course, Lightsworn / Twilight Sworn. Now, Lightsworns have been a very, very powerful deck going into tier 2 and tier 3 status since they were released. They even held tier 1 status for a short period of time during Teledap format, I think it was. But they're just a very, very powerful deck. They can cycle through their resources very quickly, create very powerful fields. And with the advent of the Twilight Sworn monsters, they've just become even more powerful. Now, Twilight Sworns and Lightsworns can easily be teched in with a lot of decks, such as Vendrids and Zombies as well. So I do think these could be a very, very good tier 2 deck. And even right now, with Zeus and True Draco still around, they're seeing play in multiple tournaments. For the tier 1 decks, I think Dinos are going to be very, very viable going into this next format. Merely because Dinos don't rely on link monsters, or don't rely on the extra deck, so they don't really need link monsters. They can create very, very powerful fields. They have built-in special summoning mechanics. They have protection mechanics. They have search mechanics. They can be teched in with a variety of different decks, such as True King, True Dracos. I've teched them in very successfully with Trickstars myself. It's just a very, very powerful deck and a somewhat versatile deck as well. Next is, of course, World Chalice. World Chalice, we are already starting to see a lot of people sort of take to the deck. It's taking off a little bit slow, but we are starting to see it come out of the woodwork a little bit. And when Zodiacs and True King, True Dracos are no longer really the viable, the top decks, I feel that World Chalice could shine very, very brightly. They have the ability to perform multiple normal summons in a turn, just with their own built-in effects. They can easily use cards such as Double Summon and Chain Summoning. They have search effects. They have graveyard recursion. They can just create very, very explosive fields. And I feel that it could be a tier 1 deck going into the future after Zeus and Dracos get hit. And the number 1 deck, which I think is going to be the top competitor after the ban list drops, is, of course, Trickstars. Now, you already see Trickstars topping events right now during Zoo and Draco format. It's just they get beat out by True Dracos and Zeus every now and then, just because Zeus and True Dracos can just overpower their fields sometimes. But they have easy access to cards such as Droll and Lockbird, which can shut your opponent's hand down, stop them from getting new cards in their hand that turn. They can do a easy 1-turn kill with burn damage. They have graveyard recursion through cards such as Trickstar Reincarnation. They can search with cards such as Candina and Light Stage. Light Stage can even lock out one of your opponent's back rows during that turn. They have a direct attack option with Lilybell. It's just a very, very powerful deck. They can go into very easy OTKs. And even if you can't get the OTK off, like I said, Droll and Lockbird can shut your opponent down from using their hands. And if you can't afford Droll and Lockbird, there are even some cheaper budget cards such as Mistaken Arrest that you can tech into the deck to make it to lock your opponent out of their hand. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think about could be the top tier decks going into the future down in the comment section below. As always, you guys make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, check me out on all the social media pages, which will be linked in the description box, and make sure you go and support me on Patreon. That Patreon is what allows me to give back to my channel to do pack giveaways, mat giveaways, and things like that. But until next time, guys, this is Harpion89 and the voices in my head. We just want to say Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not just a game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is life.